Cue music. And hello, everybody, and welcome to the FrontLines in the battle against the deep state, the cabal, the Illuminati, and all those that wish to enslave all of humanity for their own selfish reasons. We are here on another day, taking it all in. So much happening. The energy we've been talking about also is a very high level. You could tell it's just, I've been calling it an energy soup. We've got some ebbs and flows. Yesterday we covered one of the ebbs, I guess you might call them, the negative side of what's going on in Chaz, in that area of Seattle, where they've basically made a beachhead. And why am I calling it a beachhead? Because it's an invasion. It's an insurrection, but it also is more than just, you know, a bunch of kids getting together, young people that are, you know, deciding to rebel. It's not about that, not at all. There's an agenda, it's well coordinated, and it goes back quite a bit. The narrative has been tailored for this time over decades. I was going back over Mark Zimmerman time when, you know, that all erupted about a black versus white thing, or a anti-gun thing, because Trayvon Martin was killed by Mark Zimmerman. And of course, you know, the white versus black thing didn't kind of work out too well because, you know, he was kind of Hispanic. You know, Zimmerman didn't sound like a Hispanic name, but a guy looks kind of Hispanic. So they kind of really switched and kept it focused on anti-guns. But this also led to, you know, a lot of other stories that were coming out. Now, I was watching a documentary about the Zimmerman or the Trayvon Martin narrative being spun at that time, and how it, like George Floyd, was contrived in many ways. No, it was a real event. Definitely a real event, but the narrative that formed behind it had a lot of false statements behind it. I'll show you that. Let me go ahead. I'll bring that up just so that we can have a little bit of understanding what I'm talking about here. Yes, switch screens. Sorry, sometimes it's just not working out like it's supposed to. So here it is. This is from just this year. This is basically the Trayvon hoax, unmasking the witness fraud that divided America. It's a film, so it's very well done. It's about 2 hours. I'm only 40 minutes into it. But 120,000 views so far from only April 26th. I suggest you go ahead and key in on this because it's excellent. It's well done. And this is really about the reason why I'm bringing it up is as I said before, there is a narrative that's being painted out there about to create a racial divide. Sorry about that. Let me go ahead and kind of rearrange things a little bit here.
The letter detailed everything Diamond said she heard, yet Sabrina kept the evidence secret for a year, tucked.
Okay, so sorry about that. It's very long. I don't want to go through it, but I do think it's definitely well worth us going over it. All right, so sorry, so lining things up here.
Away in her Bible until just.
You're clicking on the screen and they get the wrong thing going here. All right, so the point is that that this is kind of the same thing we're seeing with George Floyd. Now, George Floyd's was definitely something wrong with the whole staging of it. Whether he's dead or not is still in question. When his family, his brother, puts out a letter basically asking for help from the UN, right? There's a problem there. Remember, on Obama's way out the door, he signed some things out, some executive orders to kind of like give the UN authority. Well, he would try to do this. It was in the, it didn't make it past the Senate, but you know, his executive orders kind of lend towards allowing the UN to come across the border and take weapons away from people. And as we can see in this rioting and the things that are going on, when the police are told not to help you, when the police are told don't go in there, and what's happening right now is there's murders being conducted in that area and the police cannot go in. People's doors are being bashed down and people are being raped. Men are being raped by other men in front of their children, in front of their wives. This is meant to demoralize that community and get everybody to bow down to their authority. But there's a lot more going on here. There's a lot that we have to really bring our attention to, because this is not upset kids. That's not what it is. That's what the news media and everyone's trying to paint that. The mainstream media is pushing that narrative. It's just a street fair. It's not a street fair. So let's dive in a little bit more. Just a little side view here. We're going to Parler for a moment. Again, Dan Bongino, who I greatly admire, now has bought a financial interest in here. He now has 331,000 followers. It's gone up about, I don't know, 20,000 since yesterday. So it's going. He's increasing in here. But when I first joined, probably hit 200,000 followers, 198,000. So I was saying if Dan Bongino can get 200,000, that means I can get 200,000, which everybody can get 200,000. So that's why I trust that he is going to make sure that it's you know, a tight ship. It's not going to be doing any kind of censoring, and I think that's wonderful. So we got something on here. Chaz leader engaged in Seattle EMT wouldn't enter enter autonomous zones following the shooting. So there you go. So if you get hurt, there's no emergency services for you. All right, let me go back over to mine. So this is my Parler. I actually just changed my background image. It says now I put "Welcome to the Rebellion." I'm highlighting my website, www.g1wja.love. If you'd like to participate, please join me over there. You can actually join for free. There's also donations of $1.11 a month, $8.88 a month, or $99.99 a year. if you'd like to contribute. Please, anything that you do to contribute helps to keep us pushing out this kind of content. And the website is going to be dedicated towards bringing out where on the front lines we are on these different issues. It's already divided up into many great sections. We'll go over it another time. But one of the things I've been doing is taking tweets that I found with videos and things like that that I can't copy out of there or go get a link from YouTube and post here. I've been re-recording them, and then I post them on my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/c/ my name, which is Dan Lutz, so which is capital D and capital L. So please join me there and subscribe. There's still, of course, shadow banning going on there, but it is what it is. Maybe one day that disappears, especially with we see Attorney General Barr saying the people should be able to sue YouTube, as well as the others, social media giants. All right, so let me just continue on here. All right, so again, my contact information I also include over here on the side for Telegram, and also my YouTube channel is also listed over there. And I've got 391 followers thus far, so all doing well. So please join me over there. So let's do a little bit of a review of yesterday. We're not going to play all the things, but it was highly important, I think, for us to really recognize, this emergency broadcast that was done by Jason James Britt about a friend of his who was in that area, who lives in that area, and what was happening in that area. And he was talking about the Black Lives Matter and the Antifa, how they're working together. And they're having men dress up as women, and then they're breaking into homes there by just bashing down the door, no knocking. Hey, hello, are you in there? No, they bust in and they ask for reparations. Right? They're asking for reparations for something that you had no part of, slavery in America, from 100 years ago, for something that didn't affect them, right? So something that happened to people 100 years ago. You can go back to 10,000 years ago and start, saying, "Oh, I want reparations for that." It's craziness, but it's only giving them their excuse where they think they have moral authority, right? Where they have none. So anyway, we covered this yesterday. It's very disturbing and really worth doing. I looked at more of his Facebook page just to kind of see more about him. He seems to be very much on it, right? So I do encourage you to do that. I'll play a little bit of this. It's about 5 minutes. We'll go just a minute or so into it.
Shalom, everybody. The message today is for blacks, whites, Latinos, Puerto Ricans, Asians, anybody in this country who's ever read the Bible and Torah and know the truth. I'm going to tell you a quick story, what happened 2,000 years ago. There was a king who was forcing everybody to do as he said, to bend down and do as he said, to apologize for the things that they had done wrong. And rumor came back to the king that there's these three Jews, these three Hebrew men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He said, "Bring these three here to me today. Bring them here to me." And they came up to the king. And he said, "I want the whole world to watch. I want my whole kingdom to see what I'm going to do to these three Jews, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego." And he got them in shackles and chains before his court. And the whole kingdom watched. And the guards were there with their piercers, their swords, ready to stab them if they said something wrong. And he said, "I want you to bow before me." And they said, "No, we will not. We serve the Son of the true living God, Abba Hashem, God." And the guards went closer with the bayonets to stab them. The king said, "No, wait. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, apologize to me for serving the Son of the true living God." And they said, "No, we will not apologize." And the guards went closer. And he said, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. And the king knew the whole kingdom was watching. And if these guys disobeyed him, the kingdom would fall. All his lives, all his logic, everything would fall because the people would see that there was something greater to him. And he told them, I want you to bend down to me on your knees and tell me you love me, you worship me. And Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, hallelujah, praise the Lord. They said, no, we serve the Son of the true living God. And guess what? The king was so furious, he became like a devil. The fire came from his eyes. He said, I want a fiery flame pit hotter than the sun. And for 2 days, the guards made the pit flame upon flame upon flame, and it truly was hotter than the sun. Even the guards who made the fiery pit were consumed by the fire. And on the second day, the king was assembled in his royalty, and the whole kingdom watched as the guards took Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to the fiery pit. They threw them in, and the guards that threw them in were consumed by the fire and flames. The king walked away and said, Kingdom, this will happen to you if you don't obey me. I will destroy you. Everything. Remember, fear no man who can destroy your body, but fear God who can destroy your soul. As he walked away, the guard said, Sire, look. The king turned around and said, what is this? What is this? I threw 3 men in that fire, and now there's 4, and one looks like the Son of God. The king went crazy. The kingdom fell and fell. Let me tell you something today, my friends. If you're serving Jesus Christ, you are a prince of God. If you're a woman and you're serving Christ, you're a princess of God.
All right, we'll drop it there. So I just wanted to show a little bit, just listening to his story. It means, I can believe this guy, right? I don't think that he's a troll. I don't think he's making this up. And when he tells this story over here, this is really tragic to hear what he's saying over here.
That's what's going on in America. He said he heard the black guy saying, we're doing to you what you have done to us for years. This is Antifa. This is the real Black Lives Matter. Woe unto you churches and you businesses today, donating money to Black Lives Matter. That really don't. They could care less about any other black person but themselves. They are wreaking havoc and injustice in America. We have a Nazi concentration camp going on in the United States right now.
Yeah. So anyway, we played this yesterday. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but anyway, I just wanted to give some understanding. So this so I'm going to go off of some of those other things. Oh, this one we covered that yesterday. There's a couple here. We covered this one. I'm just going to close them out. This one. So this is the leader of Chaz. Really good guy, right? His name is Raz. All right. Chaz occupier suggests rounding up all white people into work brigades. So, concentration camp, right? They have work brigades. Here are some others. Okay, heavy armed leftist gun club patrolling the streets of Seattle, Chaz, to ward off dangerous extremists. I wonder who those are. So you can see that that what's going on here is not normal, right? This is not the people that do these people look like as though they are wearing they're just holding a rifle, or are they actually prepared for something? Have they been trained? We really have to ask those questions. So here's some more. This one is, let me see if I can bring this over a little bit more. It's not showing the whole side, but anyway, really just it's talking about the different things that are going on in here. All right, and again talking about this rapper. So how he's become the
and they have their
leader.
firearms. So just as a precaution, I was there. We've been doing the umbrellas, but this guy just shot us. So if you're legally carrying and all that stuff at the edges, not to scare people, but and with their paperwork, I got mine in my pocket. Again, we don't want that. I really don't want that presence at all. But just watching someone get shot out here, I was there when he ran through the crowd, and I watched someone get shot. So I'm saying, if you do, that would be great if you were over at the barricades and protecting it, and just everyone watching out for any kind of weird stuff, but staying focused on what we're here for and not being afraid, okay? So make some noise. No fear, no fear, no fear.
So we see that this doesn't look like it's a street fair, does it? Right. So here's some other interesting things that are going on. Antifa reportedly. Oops, sorry about that. Antifa are reportedly chased out of town by Hell's Angel biker gang. So, they're not taking any scuff from Antifa. Again, here more on Chaz and the Raz. So, Black Lives Matter warlord gun-running leader of Chaz is connected to Dubai government, and he owns 3 luxury automobiles in the millions in property. Raz has also performed a lead role in his production about a young white girl being gang raped by gangstas, sick. So really, this is really showing, this is a production, a video production, right? So they're really showing how this is basically a gang rape of a white woman. So what kind of things are they portraying here, right? Gun violence, it's actually being shot. Someone's being shot in that scene. So this is he's talking about no fear, but his productions are about creating fear, right? So there's a lot of this type of stuff that's going on now. All of this is fear. But who's behind it, right? You're talking about the Dubai government, right? So let's move on a little bit. We're gonna listen now to Dave Hodges. I believe this is currently the one coming up. It's either this one or the next one over. Yeah, it's this one. And Dave Hodges, I keep tabs on the things that he's bringing out. He has some good intel coming from people and connections that he has. I can guess about his background, but I don't know for certain. So I'm not going to say, but I do believe that he has at least good intel coming. So let's listen to him for a little bit.
All right, let's get into the importance of, say, an occupation effort like Seattle. There is a centralized scheme going on with Antifa, and now other groups are getting involved. And we need to be highly concerned because right now Antifa is allowed to do whatever they want, whenever they want. Murders were committed last night in Seattle, and the police couldn't get through the human barricades. And they're not going to use tear gas. They're not going to use brute force. They're not going to taser their way through the crowd. They just sat there and could not get to the scenes of the shootings.
Nor the EMTs.
Whoa. I mean, you want to talk about absolute anarchy, devoid of law and order, but that is not our biggest problem. You're saying, Dave, that's really bad. People calling for help, being shot, and law enforcement can't respond. You're missing my point. That's a secondary concern. You go, wow, I can't even imagine how bad it would be. I want you to consider this. I want you to consider that rather than a subversive group, committing localized crimes, and they're committing lots of crimes in Seattle, but I want you to imagine that this group is now partnering or has been deeply infiltrated by, say, an enemy of the United States. What a remarkable way to gain a foothold. If I were putting on my military strategy hat, and I'm going to back up and I'm going to say this. I said this in an article this morning. For 2 years, and really for longer than that, but really for 2 years concentrated, I have made it a distinct hobby of mine, because I don't think I can do a good job in what I do unless I educate myself. But I have educated myself fully in the Chinese psychology. I've educated myself fully in their mentality, their approach to war strategy, their approach to politics, and what their end games are. And I'm not going to get into all that because I'm going to cover all the psychological differences in another broadcast, but I just want to say there are significant differences, and the Chinese, just to make a long story short here, will bide their time, be patient, wait for the right opportunity. I think this could be a beta test, which is going on in Seattle, on how to smuggle in troops, ammunition, and so forth. Now, if this were a civil rights protest and we're kind of occupying parts of a city simply because things have gone on that are wrong and we need something dramatic to get people's attention, I'm going to say, could we find a more peaceful way to do it? But I would not be critical of the event in terms of the overall intent. If the intent is to make America more fair, more responsive, and so forth, then I look at that and say, okay, but don't let anybody get hurt. I mean, we're trying to prevent injuries, right? We're trying to prevent needless and unjust deaths. Well, let's not add to the total. That's the only admonition I would give. But I would also look at this as this is not a civil rights movement. This is not a cause based on nobility. There are people marching in the streets, even today, who are justified to be there, justified to demand the actions that they're demanding, although I don't think defunding the police is a very, very good idea. And you're seeing in Seattle exactly why that's a bad idea. But I do think that there is some needed reforms that need to take place. I also think that we can't lose fundamental respect for the men and women overwhelmingly that do a good job protecting us, regardless of their first responder role. Now, having said that, what if this were, we'll occupy the city, we'll camouflage the effort, and we're also learning how to, the authorities are going to respond. Let me give you another example of what I'm talking about. I've got it from DHS people, Border Patrol people. There are routine Mexican Army incursions across our southern border. Routine. Sometimes they involve mechanized forces, and they're in support of cartel activities. This is nothing profound. You can search this across the internet and find examples. It just so happens I've talked to some people who've been involved in interdiction. And even when they catch some of these people, they just say, hey, we're gonna take you back to the border, cut you loose, don't do it again, right? Stop, or I'll say stop again, right? All right, what they're doing is checking American response time in preparation for a Red Dawn invasion. The cartels are not under the control of the cartels. The cartels serve a foreign interest. I'll let you guess which one that is.
China.
It's been well documented. We've
China.
documented everywhere from Humboldt County all the way, and that's in California, all the way down to the southern borders. And they test U.S. response time because when the time is right, they want this to start like any other incursion. Boy, this time they're crossing in force. It's called a probing movement. It's very typical. You send out patrols in time of war to do the same thing. Well, the same thing I think is going on in Seattle. And I look for these operations to expand. How many people, how many arms, what can they smuggle in? This is really, really bad. And let me remind you too, in the early days of Chaz, you remember when they were putting out the call for armed people to come help and protect Chaz? Remember that? And they're probably just as shocked as I am that no one from the federal government has decided to move on Chaz and stop what's going on. I'm sure they're shocked. So, whoa, the man didn't even respond. The man would be the president. And he's been held in place by propaganda and people disloyal to the United States serving in our government and the criticisms that follow in the media. And he's held hostage because this is an election year. And he can't get any more bad press than he's already got. That's what I think they're thinking. And they're saying, wow, we could get about anybody or anything in here we want. But what if it wasn't just Seattle? Oh, it's not. Now we see Portland. We see efforts in Nashville. We're going to see this across the board, across the United States. Why? Because it's the ultimate way to bring America down. In the final days of America, we will not just collapse economically and everyone will be destitute on the street and we all starve to death. There's going to be armed forces on our soil. They will be foreign. Most likely they'll be wearing blue helmets. And I
UN.
believe one of the intentions, if not the main intention of Chaz, they're not protesting George Floyd. This is Antifa now. They're not a civil rights group. They could care less about American civil rights. In fact, we know many of the Antifa members are foreign nationals. That's come through with some of the languages we've heard spoken at various rallies, like in Austin. We know where they're from, a lot of them. So what if this is just a beta test?
Let's break it right there. So, and this is Dave Hodges, the Common Sense Show. You can see his this is his channel. I suggest you subscribe to it. He's got 156,000 subscribers, and he does have good intel and good insights on things. So, again, you know, this is not just a little, you know, a few kids getting together and having a street fair. Part of the organized effort, the change of the narrative, where it's to make people bow down to the leftist. This is a communist leftist movement. It's been in planning for a long time, years upon years. You can say it happened even back when the USSR was there in coordination with China. USSR is not there anymore, but Russia is there. But is Russia really, you know, still into this in the same way, or do they think that's maybe the wrong way to go? Maybe they threw off, you know, the central banking system, deep state system, and maybe they're not playing that ball. But China was chosen for their labor force, their slave labor force, to become the center of manufacturing, which also would mean they'd have the center of all of the money system. And that's why all of these corporations were moving their headquarters to China. Does it make any sense? Apple moved its headquarters to China. Google moved its headquarters to China. Why? Something strange, right? This is not just, look, they're having a street fair. This is much more than that. This is people that are buying into this narrative that America needs to go, right? It's bad, when it's the farthest thing from the truth. Not considering that there weren't bad things that happened in our history, and a lot of those bad things had to do with the central banking system, the people behind the central banking system, the ones that really want to control the world, and they've been constructing ways to do it. They had plans, including communism as part of that plan. Of course, when you make plans, you have to adapt. Now they want a form of communism that includes too big to fail corporations, right? Where they're in charge of the production, right? Instead of the government. But there's a close relationship between the two. This is what has been forming, and this is what's being dismantled right now by Trump, the U.S. military, and all of the other countries that have joined in with Trump to defeat this. Because, quite frankly, their plan for one world government sucks. Sucks for everybody, except for those few. And those other countries know about it, right? They know what's been going on. Even Kim Jong-un doesn't want to be part of that, right? He doesn't want to, he wants his country to flourish, I'm sure. And he knows the last 50 years hasn't done anything for their country, you know, the way things have been going. He's grown up in it. And he also knows what the West is all about. He was educated in London. So there's a lot to be said with what's actually happening. So let's move on. I just want to point this out. A virologist, Dr. Stefan Lanka, who won a court case over the non-existence of the measles virus files charged against German government virologists for the corona crimes against humanity. Very interesting, right? Yeah. Oh, that was the other. So let me cover, is there one more here? Before we get that? Oh, yeah. this is one other thing. Now there's another hot spot. This is between India and China. Capitalism versus communism. India used to be communist. Sorry. I actually saw India transform. My first wife is from India. I had a very unique perspective on India. My father-in-law was the fourth richest man in India. I got to see a very high level of what was happening in India between businesses that were flourishing from the bottom, where they always had the individual man or woman having their small little businesses, and they would basically push these businesses, and grow them. But from the top, the biggest businesses were grabbed by the government, and all of them sucked. The electric company couldn't keep the electricity on. The car companies looked like Cuba. All the vehicles were from the 1950s, right? The airlines, you don't want to fly their airlines, right? Plane will fall out of the sky. But they started to change that. I saw them give up all of those, and as they gave up those industries and put them back into the hands of the private sector, things changed in India. In fact, they went from having a population of where like 5% of the whole country, of those billion people, owned all the wealth, and there was only poverty on the other end, to where they had over 300 million, and this was a good 20 years ago. They were up to 300 million middle class, right? What they considered middle class, meaning that you could have a home and a car, right? Now you were extremely wealthy or everything, but you could afford things, right? You're middle class. That's grown to 600 million. 2/3 of their population based upon capitalism. So, that being said, let's look at what we're talking about here. We're talking about that they completed a bridge. This bridge allows for them to get their troops to an area that's in that there's a contention between India and China. They've been fighting over borders forever, right? So this is ongoing. But this is where there's a constant back and forth between capitalism and communism. And I pointed out back at the time when we were having problems with Venezuela, and Trump first brought out Bolton on stage, right? And Bolton was showing on his little pad of paper when he was up there for the press conference. He said 5,000 troops. Didn't mention it in anything, but he just wrote that on there, some kind of tactic, right? But at that point, I knew this has nothing to do with Venezuela. This has everything to do with communism, the removal of it. Even though Trump was talking about there being a removing the current government there in Venezuela, but he was also dealing with China and having wonderful things to say and creating this wonderful idea about this trade agreement. And finally the trade agreement comes. But where are we at right now? China is now painted as the pariah of the planet. It unleashed the China virus upon the world, caused trillions of dollars worth of devastation, millions of lives to be lost. On the China virus, there's one other thing. I lost track of that page. I'll have to find it. I hope I find it for tomorrow. It's saying that this has been diagnosed wrong, that these deaths have nothing to do with a virus. It's an actual bacteria. So that's why the addition of the antibacterial, the Z-Pack added with this actually kills off the bacteria. It also is a part of the problem. So it's a combination effort. So anyway, but back to the point is that this battle is good versus evil. We could say capitalism versus communism. And keep in mind, we don't have capitalism in the United States. It's not. It's socialism. The corporations are socialized. They're too big to fail. In capitalism, there is no such thing as too big to fail. We saw that happen where they basically put all this money into the hands of the banks, and none of it trickled down to the people. People still lost their homes. People still were out of work. So, and we were told it's never going to get better. But what's happened with one president that's for the country that comes in? He changes everything. And there was a plan. And that plan is unfolding. And we can see it in QAnon. So let's go over to QAnon and see where we're at here. So let's go down. It's the 21st. Okay, we were on the blue line here. I think that's right, on the 19th. Yep. So this is where we left off, 4483, the thin blue line. That's talking about the police that are the thin blue line that help keep everybody safe. Don't want to defund that. So let's move on here. This is the 21st, number 4484. Berman refuses to step down from SDN New York. So I don't know what that means. Wait a second here. Holds the jurisdiction control over major cases. So let's see, what's it? Berman. Let's see what this is. Berman. Oh, is that for the Flynn case? No. Let's see. The Justice Department status. Jason Clayton to serve U.S. Attorney for Southern District. Okay, well, I'm not exactly sure what's going on there. Let's see. Inquiry submitted a legal petition to U.S. Attorney for Southern District of New York for a grand jury to examine the evidence for destruction of the World Trade Center buildings. Oh, well, okay. Now we're back around to 9/11. That's also part of the conspiracy. So the 9/11 truthers, remember, the ones that said that there's some that they were not being told the truth, right? And they were made fun of. That's the narrative, right? I remember Sean Hannity was always talking about that. Now, when I heard Sean Hannity talk about that, I said, at least he's pointing out at what's being said, so people can at least get into it. And even though he was saying that it's not real, that that this is that it was the terrorists and that. No, it wasn't. And I guess we're going to get to the bottom of that. Looks like as well. All right. So so the Southern District, New York. All right. Okay. Importance of the CDNY control, the jurisdiction, Wiener evidence collection. Okay. Clinton Foundation, Epstein evidence collection, Ukraine. Focus on above for now. Watch New York. All right. Here's another one. Oops. See what's over here. I haven't gone through these yet. Okay, statement from U.S. Attorney Jeffrey Berman on announcement by Attorney General Barr. I learned in a press release from Attorney General thought I was stepping down as United States Attorney. I have not resigned. I have no intention of resigning my position, to which I was appointed by the judges of the United States District Court for the Southern District of New York. I will step down when presidentially appointed nominee is confirmed by the Senate. Until then, our investigations will move forward without delay or interruption. I cherish every day that I work with the men and women of the office to pursue justice without fear of favor, and intend to ensure that this office important cases continue unimpeded. Okay, so that's interesting that he's supposedly stepping down according to William Barr, but he's saying no, I'm not leaving. Well, I guess there's going to be a struggle here, huh? I don't know how long he's going to be able to. So the guard refuses to step down. So the old guard, right? So why is that position important? I guess this is why because they have control over this evidence for the Clinton Foundation, evidence for Epstein and the Ukraine, right? So that's why this is one of the firewalls for the deep state. And he said, "Oh no, I'm not stepping down." So let's see. The guard refuses to step down. POTUS refuses to formally nominate. So Trump is not nominating. Interesting. So appointed to post by Southern District, New York judges. Unusual removal of acting. So he's an acting player, right? And they want to remove him. Or Barr says he's being removed. Now, actually, I don't know which way to play this right now because I don't know enough background. Is this optics that are being presented by Barr and by Trump, or is this actually where they got to get this guy out because he's the acting guy, so he's waiting for the a real nominee, or maybe this is the way it gets pushed through, right? It brings up the narrative, and then Trump says, "Okay, here's my nominee," and then people are focused on, oh, good, now that's something to focus on. Maybe that's what it's about. We'll see. We'll watch how this unfolds. Okay. The stakes are high. They will fight. Super Bowl is greater than the puppy show. All right. Let's go on to the next one. Oh, but speaking of puppies, here we go. This is a couple things here. So go, okay. 4485. Each United States attorney is subject to removal by the president. Okay. So here's the U.S. code that says that he can be removed. All right. Barr can fire Berman, correct anons. So 28, 451C. That's right. Each United States attorney is subject to removal by the president. So I guess so. By the president. And he tell Barr he's gone. All right, let's see, what's this? So now we're showing a picture of a dog that's carrying his own leash. He's basically unleashed. Do anons understand what this is? What's about to be unleashed? Interesting. This is from June 12th. Correct. All right. So let's see. There's something about to be unleashed. Okay, 4486. Pompeo had an external CSA advisor, Clowns in America advisor board that included Barr. Interesting. Well, Pompeo, was that when he was CIA director? Okay, CIA director early 2017 to April 2018. External advisory board, CIA members during this time. Was Bill Barr a member of the board? That's an interesting question. What advantages might exist to incoming AG Barr, RE member of external advisory board to the CIA, of the CIA? What advantages might exist for the Secretary of State, our former CIA director? So that's both Pompeo and Barr. That's right. It must be right. It must be according to the law. It must be proven. It's what you don't see. Durham is not the only game in town. So the Durham juggernaut out there is not the only game in town. So there's, again, multiple things happening at the same time. Barr asked POTUS to fire Berman. Oh, here we go. So again, optics. This is what's coming out, right? What's the focus? It's to bring people's attention to this. Just in, William Barr responds to Southern District, New York Attorney Jeffrey Berman. Unfortunately, with your statement of last night, you have chosen public spectacle over public service. I've asked the person to remove you as of today, and he has done so. Boom! Okay. All right, well, let's just take a look at it. All right, so that's what it looks like. We won't go ahead and read it, but that we get the gist of it. All right, let's move on here. Let's look from about the rally in Tulsa. Okay, 4488. Protesters will not block the gates again. 5 million views watched POTUS and rally in Tulsa. 5 million viewers. Amazing. So this was posted by Anonymous. Rachel Merton attending President Trump's rally in Oklahoma. All right, so thousands more supporters with tickets are not being allowed past the barricades. Apparently, there is no more screeners to let us through the checkpoints. If you hear there's poor turnout, it's simply not true. Oh, they were stopping them from going to it. Craziness, really. All right, my son and husband had tickets to attend the Trump rally, not allowed to enter because of protesters and the gates being locked for safety reasons. Said there were thousands of Trump supporters outside unable to get in the gates. Police and protesters behind them came home with a flag. They will stoop to nothing, right? Oh, well, did you see Biden's event? He had like like a dozen big giant circles with a big white circle around it with a chair in the center. Everyone socially distant apart, and there was only 2 chairs occupied against millions of people that wanted to go to this event. It will not happen again. Remember that they also phone in to report threats deliberate, right? Heightened security due to recent events. What was the combined social media unique view count? Non-TV, 5 million. Keep your eyes on the ball. So 1 million people registered to go to the event and 5 million watched. All right, let's keep this going. 4489, all the assets are deployed to prevent you from finding out about their corruption. Oh, yes. It's about making sure you don't find out about their corruption. That's what this is. You haven't figured it out yet. It's not about Trump's corruption. It's about making sure you don't find out about their corruption. All right, so focus at 2145. All right, we'll go take a look at that. While that's loading up, let's see. Can you see and understand their attempts to slow stop accountability? Whose benefits the most? COVID-2? COVID-2? C, lockdowns. Lockdowns plus C, POTUS economic gains wiped. All right, so yeah, these are things that they were trying to accomplish, right? Unemployment gains wiped. Rally hold, right? It's preventing people from getting together. Gathering dimensional energy, maybe. Closed churches and other person-to-persons, keeping you isolated. Fear, fear, fear. Right? Increased death toll. Mayors push COVID-positive seniors to hot zones. It's really crazy. Retain fears and lockdowns, isolated control, combined pneumonia, influenza death count with COVID, right? Anything they could do to bump up the numbers. Oh, he had a heart attack. Oh, he died from COVID. He got scared by the COVID media, and that's why he had a heart attack. Biden hideaway prevents self-embarrassment. Mail-in ballot, doorstep flood. Right, build public unrest, unleash unrest. Okay, let's see what else here. Black Lives Matter 4-year push with closed Democrat-controlled cities to dedicated safe zones. The mayors and governors coordinating guarantee release of those arrested. So that's a safe zone, meaning that if you're in those Democrat-controlled cities or in the state, that the governors and mayors are going to make sure that if you're arrested, you get put right back into the mix. Black Lives Matter, 4-year push, Biden narrative, news, Elim, Ukraine, China, family bribes and corruption. Black Lives Matter, 4-year push, Biden narrative, news, I guess eliminate, maybe that's what they're looking about, eliminating sexual assault claim. All right, yeah, there's some of those too for Biden, right? Tara Reid, right? All, believe all women unless they're talking about Biden. Okay, 4-year push, insert Antifa. All right, Democrats, I don't know what F means. Pocket controlled Democrat safe zones. Country on fire, real. MSDNC, peaceful protesters is fake. Bait, right? POTUS. So they're trying to bait POTUS to use the general military. I think that's what that means. Civil untrained capture money shot, shooting of peaceful protesters, breach of White House perimeter, takeover central location attempts. All right. Attempt White House brief, security POTUS, current form, military public statements, POTUS unconstitutional framework, military takeover if exercise loyalists prevent. So that means they wanted the military to be moved out into the cities, right? Because the military is also compromised in a lot of ways. Remember, I brought this up before. Obama had actually got rid of enforced retirement upon, I think it was 3,800 of the officers in the military. And then I heard that they were replaced with people that, of course, that would be in his control. So that's a lot of people. All right. So Black Lives Matter, 4-year push. See second wave. Oh, like maybe that's a corona. Yeah. The con job 19 second wave. Opportunity card. So that's their card they want to play. Democrat mayors, governors impose new restrictions if needed to retain narrative, mail-in vote, needed safety, security, limit economic unemployment recovery slow. Right? They don't want to speed up things to get better, right? Added bar today, lockdown, COVID, halt use of grand juries. Maybe that's not COVID, that's C plus C. All right, halt the grand juries due to close proximity to COVID. Oh, it is COVID. COVID mandated restrictions through all cities. All right, halt travel, called witnesses, pending investigation, Durham, known. Okay, so they don't want the things to move forward because Durham's ready to have these prosecutions move forward. Oh, we can't move because of COVID. Legal out deployed by witnesses. So I don't feel comfortable and/or safe traveling due to COVID. You heard Clapper talk about that. Oh, I mean, my wife, we're not going to go out. Right? That's so lame. That's so lame. Oh, we're not going to come in for testimony. There's a virus. All right, driver baseline, MSDNC coordinated narrative con. Apply logic, common sense. What are they trying to prevent? Trump from being elected? Who benefits most? The Democrats. All assets deployed. By any means possible, they have to stop Trump. But they are failing miserably because it's about their corruption. All right, let's move on. 4490. POTUS echoes. Q. Sometimes the people need to see it for themselves to believe. So we'll take a look at that. Oh, I forgot to look at that other video that they said to look at. Sorry about that. We'll swing back at that.
Our great congressman who we're going to introduce in a second, and I said to him, Congressman, what do you think? I can straighten it out fast. Should we just go in? No, sir. Let it simmer for a little while. Let people see what radical left Democrats will do to our country. I flew in with some of our great congressmen.
You must show them.
Going to introduce in a second.
All right. So let's go back over to this one. What was the time code we need to look at? 21 minutes and something. Let's see what that is.
Good Sunday morning, everyone.
Let's see. Let's get that time code again. 21:45. 21:32.
Russia probe continues as we learn new information about efforts to unmask individuals during the final weeks of the Obama administration. I asked Attorney General William Barr about the status of the investigation, whether there is criminal misconduct. We're waiting on John Durham's investigation, a criminal investigation. What bearing does the election have on that? I haven't heard any Democrats raise any upset over the fact that wiretapping of an American citizen was illegal. An FBI agent changed evidence, changed a document, a whole host of issues. So am I to believe that if we don't get the results of the John Durham investigation before the election and Donald Trump loses, we won't hear another word about this?
Well, first, I agree with you. It's been stunning that all we've gotten from the mainstream media is sort of bovine silence in the face of the complete collapse of the so-called Russiagate scandal, which they did all they could to sensationalize and drive. And it's like not even a whoops, they just on to the next false scandal. So that has been surprising to me, that people aren't concerned about civil liberties and the integrity of our governmental process. In terms of the future of Durham's investigation, he's pressing ahead as hard as he can, and I expect that we will have some developments hopefully before the end of the summer. But as I said, his investigation will continue. It's not going to stop because of the election. What happens after the election may depend on who wins the election.
Has he been delayed because of the COVID-19 pandemic?
There has been delay because of the pandemic. Yes, there has.
An inability to interview people?
Yes. Yeah. Not an inability, but a distinct slowing down of that process.
Because you can't gather a grand jury?
Well, I don't want to suggest there has been or is a grand jury, but it is a fact that there have not been grand juries in virtually all districts for a long period of time. And also people have been reluctant to travel for interviews and things like that. So it has slowed things down. But he's been working where he can on other matters that aren't affected by the pandemic, but there has been an effect.
A source said to me a couple of years ago.
I think that covers what Q's been pointing out here. So, all right, let's move on. So, 4491, the video of two black gentlemen helping an elderly white couple into the car. Have faith in humanity. Have faith in yourself. Do not let the media control you. Incite division and hatred for one another by use of propaganda and fear-mongering, dogma, point of view of tenet put forth as an alternative without adequate grounds. Yeah, so this is the point, right? Is that we're in this all together. America's not a racist country at all. Her husband's 100 years old. Is he the driver?
Take it easy, y'all.
Beautiful. That's who we really are, right? Across the board, no matter the race. We're really in this, together. We love our country. We love humanity. We love everyone on the planet. I've been around the world. I've seen so many people, and I rarely see bad. I mean evil. Rare. Very rare. It's there, and it festers in the dark. That's why we're turning on the lights. That's what this is all about. The Great Awakening is about turning on the lights. Can't ignore those things that have been long that we don't want to address. They have to be addressed now because we need to recognize who we really are. Okay, let's move on. Okay. 4492, third-degree murder. How come only Democrat governors placed Qanon-19 China virus positive patients into nursing homes? Yeah, why did they do that? How is it possible Democrat governors thought it was safe to push Qanon-19 positive elderly patients back into the nursing homes, hot zones? Each year, 90% of deaths worldwide related to influenza A virus strike men and women age 65 and older. If the flu, influenza, is more deadly among the elderly known, how is it possible select Democrat governors thought it was safe to push the Qanon-19 positive elderly patients back into nursing homes, hot zones? Why would this be direct if why would this be directed if hospitals, the U.S. Navy medical ships, erected care facilities had more than 70% capacity available? Why? Right? They were there available. They could have taken those patients. Some can be accused of third-degree murder if they unintentionally cause someone else's death while committing dangerous acts. Neglect, recklessness. Who benefits the most? Why only Democrat governors? How do you reasonably explain what occurred? Well, we know, right? They wanted to higher death tolls to keep people scared. To remove Trump, they have to get rid of him. In the last one, 4493, they knew Pennsylvania health officials moved her mom out of a facility as a COVID-19 death skyrocketed. Health official responsible for overseeing nursing homes in Pennsylvania, where nearly 70% of the state's COVID related deaths have occurred, has reportedly moved her elderly mother out of the facility as deaths skyrocketed. Reconcile. Protect their own, right? But not everyone else. No concern. Pennsylvania health official moved her mother from nursing home. All right, we don't really need to go into that. We already know what that's all about. All right. I think we got it. We got it for today. I want to thank everybody for everything that you've done in supporting us, and what we've been doing here is bringing attention to these matters. It's been a long road. This is I think 470 that I've been doing this during a row, calling attention, bringing up QAnon, bringing up the different aspects of why we're in this mess, what's behind the scenes, what is on the front lines. And we're going to keep at it. We're going to keep expanding. Please visit me on Parler, Parler. My link is down below. You can join also for the wwg1wga.love website. The link is down below. You can give monthly contributions, or I also have a PayPal link down below. You can also make contributions there. Also, if you'd like to get involved with the new path forward to create a new economy, The links are down below also for the gold grain coin. And we also completed an auction on Grains.bid for the coin on Saturday evening. It was a success. 6 items went up for auction, and had a new power bidder out there with a new strategy that took the others by surprise. So that was interesting as well. Maybe I'll be putting out a video for that soon. But anyway, we appreciate all your efforts. Please do what you can to jump into the fray, get on the front lines, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.